Award season just started, but this year's standout might already be decided. Of course, we're talking about Anora, the Sean Baker film that has both critics and audiences raving, and has possibly introduced us to our next big starlet, Mikey Madison. I'm in love with this Cinderella story. Okay, this is a 5-star movie for me.
I would say it is a 3-star movie for me because I find the middle portion a bit repetitive and a bit long, but otherwise the performances. This is a movie. Mikey Madison plays an exotic dancer with Russian heritage who meets this very rich Russian kid of indiscriminate age, I believe. He claims to be 23, but that's a whole part of the story. He is this goofy, utterly spoiled, utterly uninhibited kid, and he keeps paying her to come over, and eventually he pays her to marry him. And even though it's an arranged marriage like that, they do have some real affection there. But then unfortunately, they're hanging out one day, and his parents come realizing that he's married this exotic dancer, and they want to force them apart, and they hire these hitmen type people. They aren't hitmen, but they're like scary repo men vibes to come and arrange this for them. And it's about her resisting that after he runs off and they can't find him. It's a pretty woman story that turns into this kind of gangster caper. And it is very entertaining throughout. The final moment of the movie is particularly touching and well acted. But I have to say about this movie, I do prefer the pretty woman section to the gangster section. I thought the beginning of the movie, basically just the setup for the real problem in the story, is the best part of it. Not just because she is so charming and he is so fucking hilarious. I'm sorry, he should be nominated for an Oscar too for supporting actor. Mark Eidelstein as Vanya in this movie. When the movie begins, I think, oh, he's on equal footing with Mikey Madison in terms of screen time. This should be a Best Actor nomination. The way the movie goes and the way you feel about that character, something shifts, but that's not because the performance is bad. He is amazing in this movie, and he better get a Best Supporting Actor nomination for this movie. Mark Eidelstein. I hope you hear his name again.
There's a really good interview with him, I think, in ID. He's just this Russian kid who Sean Baker found. Also, Sean Baker is great at that. I feel like most of his films are always newcomers.
It reminds me of that movie Close a couple years ago where that director, Lucas Don't, just found this kid on a train and said, oh, your eyes look sad, or whatever he said, put him in the movie, and he was amazing. What? I'm supposed to believe that acting is something hard that you can only learn how to do alongside Jessica Chastain at Juilliard. What?
Well, wasn't Brad Pitt found in the park?
I have the distinct feeling he was fucking there in Missouri or wherever it was. Yes. It sort of reminds me of my friend Rachel Fields, who lives in Madison, Wisconsin, has a problem with rom-coms, and she's an obsessive rom-com fan. She goes, do we have to get to the problem? Can we just hang out and you guys are like liking each other? Like, that's fun, you know? You sort of resent that they have to get involved with plot, get involved with problems.
You know, I would say that I enjoyed all 3 movies that this was. There's the Pretty Woman part in the beginning.
The courting, They hang out. There's a lot of charming and whining and dining, etc.
Mm-hmm. It's very Gen Z Pretty Woman Cinderella story. It's coked out. It's frenetic. It is Spring Breakers-esque.
Yes.
It's Hustlers on steroids. It is so fucking fun. The dialogue is great. The characters are great. It's an amazing setup for a story. I love the caper, the mob shit in the center, mostly because I still think it's so fucking funny still. You've gotten to know these characters, and then you introduce these mob-type goons who come in and set off her, but then also set off some of the other characters that you've been introduced to. I love character actress Ivy Walk, who's in this, who plays one of the friends. You see her in the candy store. You see her on the trip to Vegas.
She is very funny. Yes.
She also has a part in English Teacher. She's so fucking funny. And she loves Keep It. She loves both of us.
So never mind, she's the world's greatest. Yes.
Shout out to Ivy. But what I love about the caper too was that I at first was so worried that it was going to be Uncut Gems vibes, because Safdie Brothers movies stress me out.
Right.
I'm sorry. Like Uncut Gems does. the Robert Pattinson one, High Life.
Yep.
Yes, that stresses me the fuck out. I'm sorry, like it just does. And I was so worried that this was going to stress me out too, but it never really does. It teeters on the edge of that, but it manages to be funny and not sort of skin crawling. So that's great. And then I think what the movie becomes in the third act is so much fucking fun. I mean, it's almost Dynasty-esque in the third act of the film.
Meaning what?
I just think, like, I don't want to spoil stuff, but, like with the arrival of the parents and then, like the court and then like the Vegas stuff, it's very like wrapping up the story in a very like melodramatic, fun way.
Yeah. So the middle portion, the caper, the things I have some quibbles with. I will say, like, so it's the goons and then she begins to assert herself, saying she doesn't have to annul or get divorced from this guy. She made the decision herself, and they're like acting on behalf of this rich family. So there's this big conflict. It's a lot of yelling the word motherfucker at each other. Now, okay, there's a place for that in cinema. That said, it goes on for quite a while, and it makes me feel like I'm watching a Rob Zombie movie. Like, I don't know if you've ever seen The Devil's Rejects.
Absolutely.
Where they say the F word something like 750,000 times. I think it's still a record. It felt like that for a little while.
That's true. You know what? I will say that as a writer, sometimes you stop yourself from writing fuck in a movie so many times because you will read it back and you say, what are my characters doing here? I wish they would say anything else. But it feels like that's all that's in her repertoire.
Yeah. No, I will say something that kind of impresses me about this movie is, so Anora is the star character, but she is never given lines that feel overly scripted or overly quippy or like she's suddenly Dorothy Parker out of nowhere. Like, it does commit to the kind of person she actually would be. There is no contrived dialogue in this movie, even though I do believe the dialogue gets repetitive. So I both respect what happens to the movie midway through and then also sort of wish it gave us something else.
Yeah. Have you ever seen 3 from Hell, the sequel?
No.
To Devil's Rejects?
No, imagine me watching a sequel to that fucking movie. Yes, more, I said. My friend Elise, who was just visiting over the weekend, was the one who showed that to me. Bitch, come on, Elise. You know that's not my bag. Yeah.
When you think about Rob Zombie doing the Halloween movies, I wonder if there's a person who could do the reverse of that, take a Rob Zombie movie like The Devil's Rejects and make like the classier like Halloween version of that for you.
Oh, yes, thank you. Yes, I would love a lightly anesthetized, less, I mean, talk about Safdie Brothers. That is one of the most fraught movies I've ever seen, Devil's Rejects.
Yeah. Anyway, Mikey Madison is fucking great in this movie. Mark Eidelstein, the kid, is great in the movie. But I love Yuri Borisov, who plays one of the goons. And I don't want to spoil too much about his role, but when he first appears in the movie, I sort of clock him as an interesting actor. And I was pleasantly surprised that they give him a lot more to do in the movie because he, I think, is also really great in the movie.
Is that Igor?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. He is great. I don't know that I'm disappointed. I kind of wish he didn't play as crucial a role as he ends up playing in the movie. It's like they gave a kind of comic relief character this other dimension. I question how much that worked, even though he was great in the role. But by the way, the main goon, Toros or whatever, he was fucking good too. And his vibe to me is the dad from Clueless. Dan Hedaya. One of the great 90s performances.
I mean, great scene at the fucking christening.
Oh my God! This guy, he gets the text that this kid is married or whatever, and he's like sent into action to go after him, and he's in the middle of a christening, like holding the baby, and just hands the baby off and leaves the church and says sorry one time as he leaves. So funny.
So now, having experienced Anora, how would you say this stacks up against the rest of Sean Baker's films? And how are you starting to feel about Sean Baker as a filmmaker?
Well, you know what I'll say? You know what Sean Baker is excellent at? Establishing a zany character and then letting them go. Like they're off on a caper and like you're clutching your face and there's some wild nudity you didn't expect or a wild confrontation you didn't expect, whatever. I think this is his most complete and satisfying movie in terms of a character arc. That said, I think the best performance in a Sean Baker movie is still former Keep It guest Simon Rex in Red Rocket. I thought he was absolutely spectacular in that movie. I don't mean to say she is worse than he is, but I thought he should have been a shoo-in for a Best Actor nomination that year. Mikey Madison in this, the attitude she gives, I mean, it's sort of like if you gave the entire My Cousin Vinny, Marissa Tomei character like a real caper for her to go on and not just one witness stand speech.
Yeah. Whereas I am not worried about Mikey getting a nomination.
As in, you think she will?
I think she absolutely
will. Oh, definitely. No, she's a contender to win. She's just a brand new entity in the Best Actress vocabulary. And when she's up against someone like Angelina Jolie in this Maria Callas movie we're getting from Pablo Larraín, and Nicole Kidman in Baby Girl, which we both have seen. And she is phenomenal in it, but I wonder if that movie is... It's interesting comparing Mikey Madison and Nicole Kidman. Nicole Kidman is someone you want to have 2 Oscars. So I feel like that's what puts her in the pole position right now. But that movie is also slightly conventional in terms of being an affair movie. And this movie is not conventional. And I feel like the character of Anora, and again, please always play the title character when you can, because that is Oscar gold. Anyway, comparing those two, it's very interesting right now.
I also am maybe anticipating a nomination for Sean Baker finally.
Yes, I guess he is under reward. The only acting nomination so far for a Sean Baker movie, I believe, is Willem Dafoe in The Florida Project, and he was great in that movie. Also, I think that might be my favorite of his movies.
The Florida Project is great. I mean, Tangerine is just fun.
Yeah.
Fun in general. What I love about this film, too, is I think Alyssa Wilkinson mentions this in her review of it, but there's moments when they're walking on the boardwalk in Anora, and you could see sort of like the orange sunset behind them, and it's so gorgeous, just the staging of it. And I would say that one thing that Sean Baker does beautifully is filming someone walking, like on a mission. Like in his Tangerine is all walk,
yeah.
But
the end of Florida Project when they go to Disneyland, yeah, right. Mm-hmm.
Someone on a mission in a Sean Baker film is always going to be maybe the most mesmerizing part of the movie.
This is not one of his movies, but it's sort of like in Sideways when Paul Giamatti leaves that house and that naked guy comes after him. That energy to me is a Sean Baker movie of like movement and walking and craziness and what the fuck is going on.
Whenever I think of Sideways, I always think of the 30 Rock joke now.
Which was?
Liz Lemon saying, "Remember I asked that black guy if he had seen Sideways?"
She's a mess. Never not good to rewatch. Never not good.
I mean, I love when people are always discussing 30 Rock online, but I feel like should be new information to people, but people are always discovering that Liz Lemon is supposed to be bad at her job.
Right. Or like a kind of a bumblefuck. And also, people have really honed in on the fact that the show she writes is so bad.
It is bad. TGS is bad.
Right. But also, it's like, that's true to life, because it's like somebody cynical and smart like her would be writing a show that's like meant to be like dog food for the masses. Like, it does make sense, you know?
Yeah, I think it was brought up especially in the context of Studio 60 on the Sunset Strip, if you can recall. Mr. Sorkin.
Mr. Sorkin has been typing again. There you go. Yeah.
Yeah, about how that show was... They really tried to make the comedy on that show brilliant.
And let me tell you something. The ratings and my eyes don't lie.
Yeah. So, Anora, 5 stars from me. Thumbs up. Go and see Anora.
Definite thumbs up. Between 3 and 3.5 stars for me. I really enjoyed the movie.
Also, Mikey Madison, like I said, one of my favorite ghost faces in the Scream franchise. I think that what people think that Emma Roberts does, and I love Emma Roberts in Scream 4, obviously, but Mikey Madison just gives you so much in that kitchen scene. It's fantastic, and it almost makes me wish for, okay, you're not a big Saw person, but
Sure, I'm not.
but the Saw movies, what they do is they jump out of chronology. And so sometimes some of the twists in some of the early ones were, oh, this is taking place in the past or something. But sometimes they jump back and forth in time, right? So that Tobin Bell can still be alive.
Yeah.
And I would love, there's just so much going on in the Scream universe, and we have so many great killers who are dead. Let's just go back. Give us a movie that takes place like between Scream 4 and 5.
But also, again, and that reminds me of my favorite thing about Ghostface. No matter who is in the costume, Ghostface is 6'3" and wearing huge boots, and that includes Mikey Madison.
You can never figure out who that bitch is.
No, defies space and time. And make it. But where is, by the way, let's say Scream actually happened, and Scream, I'm Nev or whatever, and so the person in the costume is somebody I know. I would know who it is based on how they move in the costume. Like that. This is like something that never occurs to the people in Scream. Like, oh, they're moving like my friend, or they're jolting, or they're athletic in a particular way. Anyway, these are things that would come to mind if you were actually being stalked by a killer in this costume.
Also, this way too much hesitation with ripping the mask off immediately when the killer is knocked out for a second.
Right. No, please take it off. Please, our problems would be solved. Please. Yeah.
All right. When we're back, keep it. And we are back with our favorite segment of the episode. It's Keep It. Lewis?
Yes.
What's yours?
My first keep it goes to battleground states that are stressing me the fuck out right now. What I would like everybody to do is to think of 3 friends they know in a battleground state and text those people. And first of all, say hi or just skip hi. Who cares? And make sure they go and vote because, as you may have understood, it's going to come down to those states this election. You can go to votesaveamerica.com/vote to get actual language you can use to share with these people that will compel them to vote. So you don't even have to do the creative writing yourself. You can hand that on. You can outsource that to Crooked Media and all the wonderful people who work there. My actual keep it this week. Mm-hmm. This weekend, Joni Mitchell performed at the Hollywood Bowl with her puppeteer, Brandi Carlile. And
I saw a lot of Instagrams.
Yeah.
People were like, I'm going to see Joni.
Right. And she did 2 shows. She was apparently amazing. Also at the show, Elton John was in the background, basically running backup or whatever, and also Meryl Streep. Meryl Streep, as you may have heard, is rumored to be playing Joni Mitchell in a biopic written by Cameron Crowe, who has become friends with Joni Mitchell over the years. He did a famous interview with her in the 70s and had a wonderful review of Blue when it came out at the time. That's 1971. But in the years since, he's written a version of a biopic that takes place later in life. I'm just going to say keep it to that. I just don't know that I can watch Meryl Streep do late-stage Joni Mitchell. I will say I want Meryl Streep to get Oscar number 4, and I'm also going to say I would like Meryl to return to the silver screen. She hasn't been in a movie since Don't Look Up. What? Meryl, you cannot leave us with that movie. Unacceptable. Unacceptable. And by the way, Only Murders in the Building can't be what you spend all your time doing. I'm sorry. Like, let's get it together. Let's get back to the silver screen where you belong. Kate Blanchett's on television now. We've lost our morals. We've lost our morals. But
first of all, that building, just run the lease for it because how many actors have they trapped in that no exit of a building?
Yeah, no, it's horrifying.
Everyone's on that show.
Right. And no, to save her own life, presumably, she's now with Martin Short. Guys, I was onto that first. I was not onto it second. I was onto it first. They're holding hands, going out to restaurants in Venice and stuff. Anyway, Joni Mitchell's life is fascinating. I just feel like I would rather see the biopic of the young Joni, which is allegedly part of the story that Cameron Crowe has written. But also, I distrust him a little bit. His last movie was Aloha. He trapped us in Elizabethtown for a little while. So you never know what you're going to get with him. It's been a long time since Almost Famous. You know what I mean?
Who, obviously, Meryl could play the blue era Joni
No.
Anyway.
I wonder who that would be now. Yeah, because Joni Mitchell at that time would have been in her late 20s. So, yeah, who would the person be who's Riley Keough? I have no idea. Remember for a time we were supposed to get a Taylor Swift performance as Joni Mitchell in a biopic, and then Joni Mitchell herself said, all you've done is found a girl with high cheekbones. Wow, in your face, bitch.
Honestly, I think that Zoe Kravitz could play the black era of Joni Mitchell.
Ira has a condition where every time Joni Mitchell comes up, he has to bring up Joni Mitchell in blackface on the cover of Don Juan's Reckless Daughter, her worst album.
I only bring it up because, unfortunately, the pictures kind of look fly.
No, she picked a character. I'll say that.
She was jiving.
Yeah.
I want to know who else was at that party.
Yeah. The clothes were great too.
Same thing as I would love a movie set at the roast where Ted Danson is in blackface.
Oh, with Whoopi Goldberg, one of the great relationships of all time. No disrespect to Miss Steenburgen, but
yeah, like let Ryan Murphy excavate those kind of salacious stories.
It really, the pictures are just so shot because it's the 90s.
Yeah.
I want to be clear. It's like, yeah, modern times anyway.
Also, by the way, before I move on to that, because I brought up the Mark Wahlberg thing last week about the Calvin Klein ad.
Oh, yeah.
You just said the 90s. I had forgotten, this is also in the Mark Wahlberg ad. I had forgotten how in the 90s, it was a common thing for everyone to just always say, it's the 90s.
Oh, yeah. I remember on Clarissa they did that. Ferguson would say that. Like, it's the 90s. And I was like, that has no meaning whatsoever. Right. You're just in a decade. Go ahead.
Yeah. All right. My keep it this week. Last week, Cynthia Erivo.
Oh, God. This is so much already. Go ahead.
Cynthia Erivo was a little upset with some fan edits of the Wicked poster. Now, here's what happened. The Wicked poster, which has Cynthia Erivo on it wearing a witch's hat and fully showing her face, and one of Ariana Grande sort of whispering to her with a crown on, is the official movie poster.
Correct.
Now, for years, the Broadway poster has not shown, either Glinda or Elphaba's faces. It's just sort of had the hat tipped down, and then it's also just had a white hat over Glinda whispering to Elphaba's ear. That's been the iconic image of Wicked since 2003.
And they did that because different people play those characters. So you don't want to see their faces. Yes.
So what happened is someone made a fan edit of the poster to look like the iconic Wicked poster. Cynthia Erivo was not a fan. And she posted about it, saying, "This is the wildest, most offensive thing I have seen," which is crazy. Because,
the number one thing?
Which is crazy because Cynthia Erivo read the script to Harriet.
Casey Levins, we speak your name. Moving on.
Equal to that awful AI of us fighting, equal to people posing the question, is your pussy green?
Which is a reference to a meme. We'll get to that in a second.
None of this is funny. None of it is cute. It degrades me. It degrades us. The original poster is an illustration. I am a real-life human being who chose to look right down the barrel of the camera. Sorry. I'm sorry that I'm laughing, but this is such a response that you would get from a theater actor.
Yes.
I am a real-life human being who chose to look right down the barrel of the camera to you, the viewer, because without words, we communicate with our eyes.
What? I mean, like, okay, I'll say this. If someone manipulated my image, I might have like an allergic reaction to that. Whatever. Like it's an uncomfortable thing to see, etc. It's not like she's pretending like she made a provocative choice having a face on a poster facing forward. I mean, it's not true. And I'm sure it wasn't her decision. Like, what? Like, of course, somebody art directed this, etc. Now, the meme she's talking about, there is a humorous, shall we say, profane meme out there where they use the picture of Glinda is leaning into Elphaba, who, of course, has green makeup. And she says, the caption is your pussy green? Now, okay, that's profane. People probably don't want to be associated with a joke like that if they weren't a part of it in the first place. Okay, fine. I respect Cynthia Erivo on that front. I will say, the joke is the profanity. Like, she has to lean in to whisper it because it's a gross, immature question. So I'm saying, like, it's a joke about that as opposed to just vulgar.
Also, the joke predates this situation. The meme itself comes from the original Wicked poster, which has been around for years. Someone at one point in New York City scrawled graffiti onto the poster in a subway station or something and wrote, "Is your pussy green?" as if Glinda was whispering it to Elphaba. And this has been a meme on the internet for about a decade. Longer, even.
Right. I will say, though, it is kind of nice watching a theater person, find a keyboard and express whatever, rancor, etc. Just because, in this era of like Chapel Roan, I like seeing people respond just with some bitterness. Like, it's like it's not like you owe us like a pleasant face and a smile all the time. Yeah. So whatever, like go off, etc. It's just it's one of those things that puts you in her head, and it's like, oh, that's what you think of this, and it's surprising. It was just a surprising reaction.
Yeah, I'm not discounting her reaction. Be upset, go off, but it was a surprising reaction. And I do think the part that turns it into camp is I chose to look down the barrel of the camera to you, the viewer, because without words we communicate with our eyes. I mean, that is giving Carly Kloss looking camp right in the eye.
Remember when she did that? Oh,
yes.
And then from then on, no one knew what camp meant. I believe she was the beginning of the end of the word camp.
I mean, even to dinner with the wizard?
It's a reference to the Project Runway episode with even to dinner with the Kushners. Well done. That was good.
I will say, though, that the person who created the Photoshop pointed out that it was not AI. They actually Photoshopped the image themselves. So she was wrong about it being AI. But I will say that they reposted it and then said, a lot of people have been taking credit for this, and I know that she's upset, but I'm reposting it so that I can get credit for this image. Which means, well, I guess you don't care about her being upset.
Yeah, right. Allow me to have more of a moment with this. Thank you.
Also, I mean, it's not that good.
No, I wasn't marveling at it. I was like, someone get her a job at a firm.
If Cynthia Erivo had come out and said, it looks ugly, that would have made more sense, because it does look ugly. Because the Photoshop, which hides her eyes, it doesn't then alter Ariana Grande's image at all to look like the original poster.
Right. Yeah. So it's half-assed in a way.
Yeah, it's half-assed. I will say the other funny part of this story is that at the 4th Annual Academy Museum Gala in LA on Saturday, Ariana Grande was asked about this on the red carpet. Of course she was.
Yes.
And she gave a very Glinda response. I think it's very complicated because I find AI so conflicting and troublesome sometimes, but I think it's just kind of such a massive adjustment period. This is something that is so much bigger than us, and the fans are going to have fun and make their edits. And asked if things can go too far sometimes, she says, I think so, and I have so much respect for my sister Cynthia, and I love her so much. It's just a big adjustment period. It's so much stimulation about something that's so much bigger than us. Go ahead, girl. She didn't say anything, but she said everything.
What's bigger? What? We're small? What?
It's bigger than our body. John Mayer.
All right. Yeah. It was like approaching saying something, and then I came away with less than what I walked in with.
The statement was, my sister's doing a little bit too much, but I love her, and you're not about to catch me up on this carpet.
Right. Yes.
That was the statement.
By the way, again, please just say you're not going to catch me up on this carpet. Go ahead and say it to somebody's face. Shutting down reporters, I think, is very in vogue right now.
Well, that's what I mean when I say I miss R&B Ariana. I miss Ariana's black era. Speaking of black periods in pop stars, because there was a period in time when Ariana would say on a red carpet to a reporter, "You're not about to catch me up on this carpet," and then walk away.
Right. One of my favorite moments ever is when Kurt Loder of MTV fame confronted Jewel about her poetry book and the usage of a word in it. She used the word casualty to mean one thing. It doesn't really mean that thing. And she goes, "You're a real asshole for saying that. Next question." Bam. Yeah.
Imagine asking me about the use of a word in my poetry book on a red carpet.
Kurt Loder expected Alaskan lady decorum from Jewel, and he got run over by the van she was raised in.
The van she was still sleeping in.
Yeah. Right. Amazing voice. Jewel is underrated in terms of the canon of vocalists.
I love Jewel. We need a Jewel-assance.
Yeah. I'll sing Intuition right now.
It is wild that is maybe my biggest Jewel pop culture moment. Intuition and the Schick Razor commercial, and also something that means absolutely nothing to anyone not our age.
No, right. You had to have been there. It's like the Liz Phair pop album. It's like, all that, the Garbage pop album, etc.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for listening to our show this week. As we stared the podcast mic down
the barrel
to you, down the barrel to you, the listener.
Which you couldn't even see because you're only hearing this. So
yeah.